And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Leona, I am so glad you are joining me again this week. As always, the dynamic duo is here.
We're here.
And we have a great show planned for you tonight. So here's my opening question, and it is this. When you look in your refrigerator and it looks like there's nothing in there, is there really nothing in there? Or is it you just can't figure out what to do with what's in there? How long can you go before the next grocery run? And how long can you go before the next grocery run without sacrificing flavor and putting good, healthy meals on the table? Let's talk about that tonight. And Leona, we're going to be picking up right where we left off with you last week when we met your young mom who was figuring out how to stretch her budget. And I thought this would be a good segue to go into tonight.
You know, it's a great point. It's a great point because I even had to kind of look at myself and check myself, so to speak, because so often we're so used to just going in and getting whatever we want. And now I'm rethinking and I'm trying to practice what I preach.
Well, exactly. And I run to the grocery store to drop of the hat. But now my husband is like, have you checked the budget? So I'm trying to think more about what I buy and how often I buy. And one thing I do know is that the more I go to the store, the more I spend. The less I go to the store, I'm able to save more because I plan differently when I budget. So for those of you that are just joining us, I am Denise Jordan, your host, and this is Homemaking with Purpose. And with me is my sister from another mister, Leona from Ebony, Ivy, and Time with Leona. And her regularly scheduled every other Wednesday show is The Life of a Home Cook. And tonight we are talking about stretch it and save it. We want to help you figure that piece out. Mm-hmm. And, we are in the kitchen because we are doing things to help our families, to try to put good, nutritious meals on the table. And, sometimes it's a little hard making it from one day to payday, especially like today is the 24th, I think. And, payday might be on Friday or the next Friday, especially if you get paid on like the 1st and the 15th or something like that. So how do you stretch it? How do you make it to the next payday? Is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, and it could be that you've got some things that are left over that you're going to use, maybe left over from the holiday, some things you had in your fridge. But what I want you to think about is figure out how you're going to make it stretch. And I want to ask you guys, while we're showing you what we're going to try to make stretch, what are 3 or 4 random things that you've got in your fridge that you can make stretch? If you need to put a meal on the table. So let me just show you what I did. And I didn't want to try to drag this device back and forth. So I drug all the stuff out of my fridge. And I mean almost all of it because there's not much in there. And I've got it over here on the side. So this is what I have in my fridge right now. So I have a leftover chicken. So this is about probably not quite a half a chicken, but almost. Mm-hmm. In here I have, leftover red and yellow peppers. Mm-hmm. And then I have a half of a baked sweet potato. Mm-hmm. Cranberry sauce, of course. Now, this is some broccoli that I cooked the other day. So I don't know why I didn't just get this out and put it on the side for dinner. We had bean soup for dinner tonight. That could have been a nice, green. Mm-hmm. And then some leftover canned pears. So that's not how those are supposed to stack. So those are the things that I had in my fridge from leftover food perspective. But then I thought, okay, so what else is in there? Well, I always keep a box of pie crust in there. I have those in there. And then, of course, I have carrots, celery, found some potatoes. Oh, green onions and celery.
Mm-hmm.
And girl, look at this pitiful looking cabbage.
Oh,
I need to cook that. And a half a jar of Tostitos sauce.
mm-hmm.
So these are things that I had in the fridge. And then when I think about, okay, so what's in my pantry, like my dry pantry, I put some things back here. So, a few weeks ago, we did those soup mixes. So I thought, a couple jars of soup mixes. And then I also had some.
Is that gnocchi?
No, this isn't gnocchi right here. This is like some marinara. It's ricotta and spinach ravioli.
Oh, okay.
Look at all these. And then this is gnocchi.
Oh,
So
okay.
these are the things that I have. So what kind of things could I make for meals? Let's talk about that. And we'll come over and greet people in a little bit. But for right now, what kind of meals could I make with what's here? And I will tell you guys, I got the jump on you guys because I had to make dinner tonight. And when I say I showed you guys what was in the refrigerator, I thought about using that chicken. But then I thought, well, if I use that chicken, I won't have anything to show people. So then I thought, well, what's on my pantry shelf? And I had canned some ham and bean soup, about 3 or 4 months ago. I got out my American Harvest pressure canner. So that was one of the first or second things that I practiced with. And I thought, well, why didn't I use that? I mean, it's sitting there on the shelf. And then I went to my freezer and found some leftover ham, probably from Christmas, and added that to it because I didn't have a whole lot of meat in that. And then a box of Jiffy cornbread mix. So that was what we had for dinner tonight. But when I looked in that fridge, I'm like, there's nothing here. So let's have the people there help me out. And you start and let me know, what can I cook? What would you suggest I make?
All right. Well, I went through mine and I did the same thing. And your refrigerator looks a little bit better than mine at this point because I didn't cook over the weekend. And so that meant that things were a little tight. But I had one container. I have enough. I had been dying for some fried chicken livers with mushroom gravy and some rice and broccoli. So I have enough of that to be able to actually come back with a second meal. So, and the big guy won't have a problem with that. So I have rice. I have to make more rice because I used up the rice that I had. So I need to make rice. And one thing to keep in mind, I usually make rice in volume. And the reason for that is so that I can portion it out and I freeze it. And then that way I can just pull it out when I'm ready and the rice is all ready to go. So it's time for me to make rice. For that, I made some pork chops.
So you can have chicken and gizzards and the chicken livers and gravy with rice.
With rice. And then just add something green. I had some pork chops and I pounded them, only used one pork chop as it ended up. So I still have one whole pork chop. So I think what I had considered taking this and chopping it up and making some tacos with it. So I've got pork there and I've got some tomato sauce that I can zhuzh up and do whatever I want with it.
You know what? I had a container about the same size with like diced tomatoes in the fridge.
I have a leftover jar. I always have a partially used jar of Classico, and because it goes in a lot of things.
Yes.
And so you can just kind of toss it in and have something really good. But I went to eggs. I had not bought eggs. I bought enough eggs, I think about 4 weeks ago, that I thought and I've been stretching them over that time period. Well, guess what? I'm down to 3. So what I'm going to do with these eggs is that I'm going to make them part of a carbonara. And I've got the pasta here. And I think I'm either going to throw in, you have to have something green.
Yeah.
As luck would have it, I have broccoli already made, so I can toss broccoli in at the last minute just to add a little touch of green, or I can hold on to some peas. But so
now tell me, what do you mean by carbonara? I'm not sure I know what that is.
Carbonara, typically you start with a little bacon grease and or bacon, if you have bacon, and you cook your pasta off to the side, and then you make up this kind of cheesy sauce and put the pasta in. Mm-hmm. And I usually add some kind of green vegetable to it. I know that's not a traditional way because they keep it pretty clean with just kind of a white sauce. But it's basically,
you throw it in on top like spinach or something and let it wilt down on top or something?
I put it on top and then just kind of toss it in the pasta with it, and let it get hot. And then sometimes I actually warm it up, especially if it's already cooked. Mm-hmm. This is already cooked. So I will probably just throw it in the microwave, get it good and hot, and then toss it in. But then you can sprinkle it with bacon, and you crack and at least 1 or 2 eggs in the carbonara and let that make a cream. It makes the sauce creamy. And if you need to add a little pasta sauce in, you can throw a little pasta sauce in, season it up, and you're good to go. And so you have a pasta dish. So I thought, okay, well, I can do that. So that's 1, 2, almost 3 meals right there. So I'm thinking also, I've got some, this is elbow macaroni. And surely I can find something to do with elbow macaroni. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I still have a package of leftover cornbread.
I got some in the freezer.
And I know in my freezer, I didn't dig it out, but I know I have half a rotisserie chicken that is in the freezer. So I'm thinking we're going to have some chicken and stuffing so that I don't have to go.
Thank you for that idea.
Mm-hmm. So, that's in there. And you'll laugh. This is my half of a head of cabbage.
Your cabbage looks a lot better than mine.
So cabbage is going to be on tap. And, I could take those pork chops if I decided not to do the tacos. Mm-hmm. I could fix some cabbage, slice up that pork, and kind of throw it in there and have a cabbage stir fry. And I've got carrots. I could put some carrots in there. I know I have an onion that's cut up in the freezer, so I can do that. So that gives us options.
Yeah, and I got an onion somewhere, but I don't know where I put it, and I need to find it because I only have 1/2 of an onion.
Oh no!
I said it earlier, but I'm sure maybe I put it back in the fridge. So okay, let's check and see what people are saying over here. Let's give a few greetings. We've been on for a little bit. So Luann Oglesby is here from Hawaii. Hey, Luann. My secondhand life is back again. Kim, it's good to have you here. So good to have you with us. Yeah. And then Casey is here. And Ella is saying hello to everyone. And Hazel is back. We appreciate you joining us again. And there's Carol.
Yeah.
And she's saying hello to everyone. And let's see. Oh, Nova Caffelli. Love this. I love my home and taking care of it. Much love to all. Oh, thank you. We appreciate that.
That's great.
And there's Ann.
Good. It's late for Ann.
Okay. And then Einstein Darwin likes the old format. And then, so my secondhand life says there's always food in my fridge. Just sometimes there just isn't anything I want. Now, I think that's saying a lot right there. because sometimes we may not just want what we have, but if we have to make it to payday, we may not have much choice. But she says she can go 3 or 4 months easily without shopping except for dairy. She
Okay.
needs yogurt and milk each week. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. There's Victoria, and there's Carter's.
Hey, there's Carter's.
And let's see. So Carter is talking to you. She said, "Show." She subscribed and shared out. She will watch from. That's great.
Yes, oh, that's sweet.
Miss Leona is on her way to 5K. So if you are not a member of our community, you guys need to join. Oh, so here now, somebody is telling me, "Hey, Tamika, good to see you." So Madeline is saying, mix the cranberries and pears and make little hand pies.
Oh.
So you know what? So
you got
pie crust, mix the cranberries and the pears, put in a little bit of sugar, some spices, because I got all of that, and make some hand pies. Okay, like that idea. So that's for dessert. You guys got any other ideas for me? I'd appreciate it. Tam is saying hello, and then there's Dave again saying hello to us.
Hey, Dave, how are you?
Yes, how are you doing? Oh, Sierra says I could use the chicken and the bell peppers and make fajitas.
Oh, so that's true.
The only problem is I don't have any tortillas, but I do know you can make your own. I have not tried it yet. Did I try it once? But you're right. I could learn to make my own. There's videos that do teach you how to do that. So that's a good idea. I can make fajitas, and I love fajitas. So with my bell peppers and my half an onion, I could make some fajitas. I also have some cheese in the fridge too.
Okay.
Oh, Madeline says chicken teriyaki stir fry with the chicken, the broccoli, and the peppers over rice. Yes, and I've got a jar full of rice in the fridge. So that's not I'm in the fridge, in the pantry. So that wouldn't be a problem either. So Nova pulled some dressing that she froze from Christmas and thawed it out and baked it with the smoked turkey leg and made some mixed veggies and rolls, golden mushroom soup for a quick gravy. Oh, now that sounds good too. So what I am seeing here is the advantage of using your freezer. Pulling things out of the freezer. And that was one of the things that I did for lunch yesterday, because like I said, the fridge is kind of empty. So I made the chicken gnocchi soup last week or a couple of weeks ago when I did the 4 meals from the Aldi grocery haul. And that soup serves 6. So I set aside enough for us to have another day for lunch and put that in the freezer. And then we had that for lunch yesterday, which is fine. So I'm liking the fact of using lunches. So any other thoughts, Leona, on what you can make while I'm looking to see what people have?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. You know, my freezer is my savior, so to speak, because I can certainly go to that freezer and I can go probably a couple of weeks just off the things that I have in the freezer. And I see Luann's talking about the carbonara, and it is delicious and it's so filling and it will go a long way. That's the nice thing about it. Now, I don't, whatever I prepare, you know, you won't want to freeze carbonara because it changes the consistency of it. But if you have a little parm, and usually I keep my Parmesan in the freezer as well. So I have containers of Parmesan, and so that it will last a long time. So if you buy it, because sometimes Parmesan is a little expensive. And so when you make that purchase, I typically take a little bit out and freeze the rest. My husband laughs about that. He says, everything is in the freezer. And that's probably true. but I see a lot of turkey legs.
Well, and
Absolutely.
though, backing up for a second, if you don't put it in the freezer, it might get nipped on. And next thing you know, that meal that you thought was going to be for next week, somebody has
Mhm.
eaten it for a snack.
Well, when I had my long-legged son here, that was definitely a case. I can tell you a story. We had fixed these steaks. Oh, they were beautiful, and we bought specialty steaks that particular time because we were both working, and it was so funny. My husband ate part of his, I ate part of mine, and we said, "Oh, we're going to save this, and we're going to have this on such and such night." Girl, we went back to that refrigerator. I'm digging, there was not a piece of steak anywhere. I said, "Who ate the steak?" And he said, "I did, Mom. I had that for lunch."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
great.
Oh, look,
So,
here's your baby here. Nitty T is here. Well, Florence is here.
hey, Florence.
And
I
then
saw
Nitty
her
T
this
is here.
morning. Nitty T. Yeah.
Oh, now Madeline says a cabbage slaw. That's
Oh,
not something
yeah.
I've ever made.
You
Oh, yeah.
never made slaw?
Nope.
Ah,
I usually just buy it. My family's not big slaw eaters. Now I like it, and I
okay.
really like it on pulled pork sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get it for that, but I don't get it very much. So yeah.
Oh.
So okay. Well, let us just back. Oh yes, please thumbs up the host. That we'd appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now let me just get back to my notes to see if I'm overlooking something. So let me just ask while you guys are still putting in your 3 ingredients that you're going to try to cook. What is one ingredient in your fridge or pantry right now
Mm-hmm.
that you don't know what to do with? So what's one ingredient in your fridge or pantry right now
Mm-hmm.
that you don't know what to do with? Inquiring
Wow.
minds want to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's nice listening to all of the suggestions that are coming through because uh, you kind of get into a routine of doing things a certain way, but then somebody else takes those same ingredients and they come up with something totally different. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And so that's going to be nice. It'll be nice.
I was trying to think how I would answer that question. And
Mm-hmm.
most of the things in my pantry, I do know what to do with. But I do have some pasta, like those little bitty Danelli pastas, the little
Mm-hmm.
tiny,
Mm-hmm.
little round ones. I
Mm-hmm.
have some of that. And it's just on the shelf. I bought it, I think, for a particular recipe, and I haven't used it since. And I've
Mm-hmm.
also got some orzo pasta. I think that's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
They look like big
Mm-hmm.
fat pieces of rice,
Mm-hmm.
but it's, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't use that often. So I probably don't know what to do with those unless I had a recipe in front of me. Do you
Mm-hmm.
have anything like that in your fridge
Well,
or in your pantry or whatever?
yeah, one thing we can always go to, when you think of chicken soup, it can be chicken vegetable soup, and you can certainly throw the was it Di Tonelli,
Yes.
a handful into your chicken broth and with your chicken soup. And I noticed that I'm working on doing 5 chicken dinners, and I took one chicken and made 5 dinners.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and looking from a standpoint of a family of at least 4. And so, in looking at that and in dividing the chicken, you'll see very quickly that eventually you get down to where you're just kind of down to scraps. And so the nice thing about that is that you can always put a soup together or a casserole together where
Mm-hmm.
you won't have to have so much protein because, you think about it, when you open a can of chicken noodle soup,
Mm-hmm.
you're lucky if you get 3 or 4 little pieces, teeny pieces of chicken. So when you do that, then it gives us an opportunity to have our own.
And you've got the chicken broth. So you've got
Right.
the protein in the broth. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got the hint, you've got that flavor of it. But yeah, okay. All right. So there's that. So let's see, what other question do I have for you? Have you ever challenged yourself to skip the store for a week? And if you did, what helped you pull it off?
Oh, well, I have skipped the store, that's for sure. I have to go back to my pandemic mind.
Oh, yes.
Oh, goodness. And especially at the beginning. And, I have to say that I was brought up pretty much to have a well stocked pantry all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And so usually I have at least 2 to 3 weeks of like meats, two to
Mm-hmm.
three weeks of vegetables and those kind. That was even when I only had a refrigerator, and
Mm-hmm.
so and didn't have a big freezer. But certainly, you can go back through because 9 times out of 10 you're going to have leftovers, and depending upon too how we package them
Mm-hmm.
when we're putting them up. Now, like when I showed you the chicken livers, now because of how they were prepared, they're all together. But had I just fried them and put them on the rice and then poured a little gravy over it, then I could take those chicken livers, chop them up, and make some dirty rice. But
Oh,
but
yes.
because of the fact that I smothered them in the gravy, that's the reason why I kind of have to stick with that. So that's something to think about as you're preparing. Are you preparing it in such a way that you're going to use a portion of it for another meal? And that's a mindset
Yeah.
that we have to get into. And that was the thing about, I think the pandemic sent me in that direction, was always, most of the time, thinking about that.
Well, let me just share with you something that kind of came to my awareness yesterday. So, like I said, we're pretty much bare bones. So I need to order some groceries tomorrow.
Hmm.
And I wanted to give my husband breakfast. And I thought, well, I'll give him nuts and berries for breakfast. But I realized I didn't have any fresh strawberries or fresh blueberries. I did have some
Hmm.
frozen ones. But frozen blueberries on yogurt don't taste quite the same as fresh.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And he's not a real big blueberry fan. So I thought, he likes pears. I got plenty of canned pears on the shelf. Now,
Mhm,
why I
mhm,
didn't think about opening a can of pears earlier, but I
mhm,
thought, let me just open up a can of pears and I can put the pears with the yogurt and then
mhm,
put the granola and the nuts and, still have nuts and berries, so to speak, or nuts and fruit.
mhm,
There were no berries, but they were pears, and it was
mhm,
perfectly fine. So it
mhm,
made me think about how typically when I'm serving fruit, I will tend to think about fresh fruit or fruit that
mhm,
has been fresh and I've cooked it in some way. I don't always reach for my canned fruit. And I'm like, well, what am I
mhm,
storing that canned fruit for? It's not just to take up space on my shelf, but it's for
mhm.
my family to actually use. And it was perfectly fine. So whereas
Yeah.
I had some frozen blueberries, but thought about the microwave and had them with my yogurt, and it was fine for me. He had something that was great for him, and that was more to
Mhm,
his liking. So there was that. So
mhm,
also don't forget about those canned items that you can use to augment that meal.
mhm. I like using the pears too to make the canned pears that
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of mush them up and make a sweet bread, a loaf of sweet bread. We're so used to using like apples or bananas,
Mm-hmm.
but pears work equally as well, and it's delicious. And so, do you have Jello on your shelf?
I do.
Yeah, well, I fix Jello every now and then, and so I typically have some type of fruit cocktail or something like that I can put in it. And just thought about it. I didn't pull the Jello out, but I had fixed Jello while the granddaughter was here, and it was so funny because she had never had canned fruit cocktail ever
Really?
in 8 years.
Who's never had? Oh, that's amazing. I mean, it was like everybody had canned fruit cocktail. You put it in Jello, and that was dessert.
Absolutely. And she looked at, she said, "Is there fruit in the Jello?" I said, "Yes, that's fruit cocktail." And so she went, "I've never had this before." So it was nice it was nice to be able to give her something that she had never had. And
Mhm.
she was like the cat in the hat. I like it.
Well, Tiffany is saying hello and she's glad she caught the live. And what are we making? Tiffany, it's not what we're making, it's what you're making. We're talking about how you can stretch that meal or stretch that pantry until payday. So what we're trying to figure out is you open the fridge, you open your pantry, and you think, I ain't got nothing to cook and I got to make it to payday. What can I do? So we want you to come up with 3 random things from your pantry and then drop it in the chat and we'll come back to you and you let us know what you can come up with from that perspective. And the reason why I wanted us to think about this is because I want to talk about your budget bridge meals. So, what are
Mhm.
bridge meals? Those bridge meals are those meals that just kind of help you make it through. One of my go to bridge meals, chicken and dumplings. I would
Oh
make
yeah.
those a lot. So, if I got like
Hmm.
this chicken that I've got left over in the fridge,
Hmm.
I've got flour, I've got spices, so I can
Hmm.
make some dumplings, and I've got homemade chicken broth in my freezer. I
Hmm.
can make a big pot of chicken and dumplings for dinner.
Hmm.
Another go-to for me is chicken noodle soup. I've
Oh
got
yeah.
noodles. I've
Hmm.
got all different kinds of noodles. I've got the little skinny noodles, but I like the little
Hmm.
skinny noodles. And I had just a little bit of those. What were they?
I've
I
got my
got
little noodles here too.
a half a bag of noodles, just a half a bag of those
Hmm.
little skinny noodles. But yeah, I like the real skinny ones for soup.
Uh-huh.
Now, if I'm making a casserole, then I like the bigger ones. Or if I'm going to
Hmm.
do noodles for dumplings, then I like the wide ones.
Hmm. Yeah, I tell you what, chicken, and chicken is typically somewhere in my house. And you can make chicken salad if it's a hot
Yes,
day. And chicken can just be used so many different ways. And the good thing is that it's very healthy. It's good
yes.
for the body and in cleansing the body. And so we have gotten a little bit away from beef, just having beef occasionally. And my goodness, when I went in the store last week and saw the price of beef, I walked straight past it. I thought, nope, not today. This is not the girl.
Well, I always go to the manager special. Like I go
Yes.
straight there
Hmm.
first to see do they have beef on sale, and if they have it at a
Hmm.
price that I think I can afford, then I'll
Hmm.
go ahead and pick that up, and then I can put it in the freezer or the fridge, and depending on what my plans for the week are, then I'll make that. But like you said, if it's up too high, then I'll just keep right on moving and
I
look for
know.
something else. So when I look at my go-to meals, though, when you mentioned soup earlier, that's
Hmm.
another big go-to. Now, you brought out your eggs. What about egg-based meals? Because, I was looking at Chat GPT and I said, what are some leftover meals that people might like to make? And one of the ones that came up with was
Hmm.
egg-based meals. And I thought, you know what, I don't make egg-based meals. I
No.
might make scrambled eggs for breakfast or something like
Hmm.
that, but I rarely
Hmm.
make quiche. I don't make custards or those kind of things, but it
Hmm.
mentioned things like frittatas and egg scrambles and eggs
Hmm.
on toast. Those aren't things that I would ever think to make. So, do
Hmm.
you viewers out there, are those some kinds of egg dishes that you make? Now, my husband likes boiled eggs. Like when he went fishing today,
Hmm.
they will boil eggs to take as part of their lunch. But I typically don't. Eggs for breakfast and then eggs and bacon, and
Hmm.
that's about it. So for our people out there, what are you doing with eggs to help extend the meal? You look in the fridge, you got 3 eggs left. What you gonna make with them?
Hmm. Well, you've got a pie crust, and if you've got eggs and you've got vegetables, you can always do a quiche. And
And I
and
like a quiche, but I never think to make it. But now my daughter makes quiche all the time.
I do too. And that is a great way. If you have little small packages of meat, whatever the type of meat is to put that meat in with the vegetables and your eggs and a little milk, whip that up, and you've got a quiche. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the advantage of having pie crust available, whether they're homemade or whether they're store bought. It doesn't matter. And but it's a nice, and it is a good meal stretcher in that if you put enough vegetables in there, that quiche will hold the family. And
Mm-hmm.
typically, I cut mine into fourths so
Ah.
that so that you really get a meal portion. And if you happen to have some vegetables on the side, or like a tomato or a
Mm-hmm.
salad or whatever, cucumbers, then that gives you that little extra. But uh, quiche has saved the day many a time.
And I
And
love quiche. I don't know
I
why I
do.
never think to make it.
Yeah, I like omelets. And
Oh,
I
I
know you
love
almost
omelets. Now I will
always
make
have.
omelets for dinner. I have done that.
Hmm.
Breakfast for dinner. I have done
Hmm.
that. I forgot about those.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And one of my go-to is grilled cheese. Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how many times we've had grilled
Grilled cheese
cheese.
and tomato soup.
For dinner. That's it. Can of
Okay.
soup and grilled cheese.
So Kim's Real Life says once a month she will shop. She buys meat
Hmm.
on sale, cooked up a bag of chicken breasts on Monday, and they've been eating from that. If I
Hmm.
don't have an ingredient, I just sub it out or don't make that dish. And Kim, I'm gonna boom on that one because I
Absolutely.
learned to do that. I will look up in a minute. I will Google. Okay, I don't have ginger root. What can I swap it out for? I don't
Hmm.
have broccoli. What can I swap it out for? I have
Hmm.
been learning to let my fingers do the walking and figure
Hmm.
out how I can swap some things out because I want to use what I have and not feel like I have to rush out to buy something. And if I'm trying to make it to payday, I can't rush out and buy anything. I have to
Yeah.
use what's in this refrigerator or in
Hmm.
this pantry or in the freezer. So
Hmm.
yeah. So I've been learning to do that. So okay, so if you guys have been watching, we've been waiting on you guys to drop your 3 random things in the chat. So let's see if anybody's done that yet. So my secondhand life has to leave us.
Oh.
Hey, now Carol is messing with me, right?
Ah, use your rice cooker.
Carol, I want you to know I have been using that rice cooker at least once every 2 to 3 weeks now. I used it earlier this week. I
You
was like,
did.
oh, I'm so glad you challenged me to do that because it is so easy. So I've
Hmm.
really been doing that quite a bit. But yeah, you can make fajitas with the peppers and different things that I have. Let's see. People are laughing. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So Madeline is saying you could take that classical, pour it over the pork chops with even the dressings on the side. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That would be good.
Uh, Carol is doing chopped leftover
Oh.
cabbage and put in a pot of vegetable soup. Oh, cabbage is great in vegetable soup.
Hmm.
That's a good
It is.
idea. And that
Hmm.
pitiful looking cabbage I got, that's probably what it needs to go into. Is vegetable soup. So Kim says the main vegetable in her vegetable soup is cabbage. I think
Okay.
when I make vegetable soup, the main vegetable is usually carrots, corn, green beans.
Hmm.
But okay.
Hmm.
Oh, so Sierra says she has nacho cheese in the pantry that is haunting her. She can only think of nachos. Okay, so ladies and gents, what can Sierra
Hmm.
make with that nacho cheese? She thinks she can only make nachos with nacho cheese, but what else can you do with nacho cheese? I can see a nacho cheese a mac and nacho cheese.
Hmm. Hmm. You could definitely put it with some macaroni and elbow macaroni and
Mm-hmm.
make that, you're right, a nacho cheese mac.
Mm-hmm.
And or if you have a little bit of beef, you could do
Mm-hmm.
a hamburger helper nacho style, or
Yep.
with that nacho cheese flavor. And Lord have mercy, I can't tell you how many pans of hamburger helper I know we've gone through,
Ooh.
but
We
and it
used
is
those
good.
quite a bit when we had a young family. I mean, it
Oh
was like
yeah,
Tuesday.
absolutely, absolutely. It is a great way. The kids love it, and if you have some nachos, then you can just put it on the side. They think they have a special night just for them because they're able to use their nacho chips and
Mhm.
eat with whatever it is that you prepared with it.
And you
Yeah.
can certainly do tacos with those too. So you may not have
Yes.
nacho chips, but you might have some taco shells in your pantry.
Hmm.
So you can make tacos and put the nacho cheese
And
on the
drizzle.
tacos. You could
Hmm.
put it on hot dogs if you've got children
Oh
and you like hot
yes.
dogs. They would be great on hot dogs. You can make
Mhm.
chili dogs and put the nacho
Chili
cheese on
dog.
top of
Yep.
that.
Or even chili. Put a little topping of nacho cheese on there.
And
Yep.
tortilla soup and put that nacho cheese in the tortilla soup.
Yes.
Okay, let's see what else we
Yes.
got. Oh, Carol puts the orzo in vegetable soup. That's what you were talking about,
Oh.
Leona.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. I like that. I like that idea.
Erica says her favorite show is on. She's finally on time for the live. Erica, what we're doing
Oh.
right now is we're talking about how you're going to stretch those meals to payday. You look in the fridge, you say, I ain't got nothing to cook, but you got to make it to payday. So you got to look at your fridge, your freezer, your pantry to figure it out. So, what 3 random items do you have in your fridge that you can let us know you've got, and we can try to help you workshop what you can make those meals with?
Absolutely.
So, Madeline says, with small pasta, oh, you can
Mm.
make a cold
Oh,
pasta
that's
salad using
true.
tomato,
Hmm.
cucumber, cheese, black olive. Yep, you certainly
Hmm.
could do
Hmm.
that. Now, Nitty says meal planning helps her skip the store. Yes, you're absolutely right about that.
Yes, it does.
Frozen blueberry
Oh,
compote. Oh, yes, on pancakes. Well,
yes.
and I have been known to make blueberry syrup. Take
Hmm.
those blueberries, warm them up, make blueberry
Hmm.
syrup, and put them on pancakes. But yes,
Hmm.
I love blueberry pancakes.
Hmm.
Okay, all right.
Or take those frozen blueberries and make some little blueberry muffins.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me see what else am I overlooking? So we're talking about those budget meals, those extender meals to get you through payday. So what are some of those meals that you ladies and gents might try that's going to help you get to payday? Let us know. Let us know.
Hmm.
See if anybody else has given us any ideas. When I take a look at what I've got in my notes, and a lot of you have already alluded to these. We've looked at soup with
Hmm.
leftovers. Now grain bowls. I'm good with a grain bowl. I'll make a rice bowl in a
Hmm.
minute.
Me
A
too.
bed of rice, you put
Hmm.
some ground meat or just a few
Hmm.
chopped up pieces of meat on top of that, maybe some
Hmm.
gravy, some
Hmm.
vegetables, and you've got a meal right there.
Yeah.
Tortillas or
Mhm.
tacos, and then open face sandwiches. I forgot those. I like open
Mm.
face sandwiches, like a turkey
Mhm.
Manhattan, a beef
Mhm.
Manhattan, and you can do the same
Mhm.
thing with chicken.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Or what
so
we call the what they call it, the turkey. It's the brown. Oh geez. I can't remember the name of it. And it's derby time. How could I forget? Hot brown. The hot
oh,
brown is with turkey and toast, thick toast. And then you have this delicious sauce that goes over it. But it's called a hot brown. But it's basically an open faced turkey sandwich with a
mm-hmm,
fancy name.
mm-hmm.
Hmm. But
So
it's delicious.
Ella made chicken and dumplings,
Oh,
and
yummy.
Tiffany says this is a timely topic. So, okay, she says she's got ham left from Easter,
Hmm.
russet potatoes. Her chickens are producing, but all she can come up with is breakfast. So, and she's got Granny Smith apples. So, you've got that ham and you've got eggs. So, you can
Hmm.
have either, breakfast for dinner, ham and eggs
Hmm.
for dinner. You've got the ham. You can make some ham and bean soup, or you could have the
Hmm.
ham, make some ham gravy and serve that with some rice or
Hmm.
beans or some kind of a pasta or something like that.
Hmm.
And with your chickens producing all kinds of egg dishes, frittatas and quiches
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
all those things. Omelets that we could talk about. And the Granny Smith apples, oh yeah, apple
Oh
cobbler.
yeah.
Or those fried apples like they make at Cracker Barrel.
At Cracker Barrel.
Hmm.
And with the ham too, besides the ham and beans, she could do a ham. Actually, there's a ham and potato quiche with
Oh.
onions, and so she could put a quiche together, and she could use her eggs as well as
Hmm.
dicing up the potatoes. And so that gives her an option as well as an omelet with the ham. Ham's delicious in an omelet.
Hmm.
And also goes back to those open face sandwiches. And with the russet potatoes, now if the potatoes are cut up, then I would chop them up and think about some type of soup. That,
Potato soup and put ham in it.
yes,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Okay. All right. So Beck is making chili with a few extra cans of kidney beans to
Mhm,
stretch the ground beef and
mhm.
serving it with rice to stretch the whole meal. Absolutely. The
That's a
first
great
time I
idea.
saw someone do that, I have a friend who her husband was from Haiti,
Mhm,
and I met them from they were by way of New York when I and
mhm,
had moved here to Indiana when I met them. And his sister had come out to visit and she was making this dish. And I said, "Oh, what are you making?" She said, "Well, just chili." And I'm like, "But you
mhm,
making rice?" She said, "Well, yeah, you put the chili over rice." I didn't know
mhm.
people did that,
Yeah, it
but
depends
I
on where
learned.
you're from. Yes.
Hmm.
Now we do chili with spaghetti.
I've done that
And
too.
yeah, and but I have never personally eaten it with rice, but I know friends that do.
When I was a girl, my dad liked for us to put macaroni in it, and he called it
Yes.
chili mac.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he called it chili mac. He would put macaroni in it. But yeah, we used to put spaghetti in it, crunch it up and put spaghetti in it too. And again, it
Mhm.
was an extender because there were six of us. So mom
Yes.
had to make that chili stretch.
Absolutely.
So macaroni
Absolutely.
or one. And then Terry says spaghetti and meatballs.
Mm.
Oh, now Phoebe makes her own noodles. She just eggs and flour. I'm going to try that. I
That's a
really want
good
to try and
idea.
make my noodles. I got a pasta
Hmm.
maker, but I've not
Hmm.
tried it. But I've got to think, all these people that make all this pasta, they don't use some kind of machine.
Hmm. But you don't have to have a pasta maker to make noodles.
Hmm.
It's just a
Hmm.
matter of rolling flat.
So Sally says if you have rice, make a cheese rice soup or use
Mm.
it as a burger topping after it is diluted and then makes a thick cheese sauce with the kit. Okay, sounds good.
Oh.
Chicken marsala, somebody
Mhm.
said.
Mhm.
And Phoebe said her husband loves breakfast for dinner. Mine doesn't.
Mine does.
Mm-mm, he's not one big on breakfast for dinner. I'll never forget though, it was our first year of marriage, and I decided I wanted breakfast for dinner. So I made
Mhm.
pancakes and bacon and stuff like that. He was like, "What? You made pancakes for dinner?" He's like, "I'm calling your mother." Like he's gonna
No.
call and tell on me. But I was just like, I thought that was pretty cool. But
And
evidently it wasn't not
well,
something
you
that he
took
cared
time
for.
enough to do it.
Hmm. Avocado toast with egg.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. I like that.
Okay. Tuna salad, boiled egg, different things like that.
Mhm. Let's see. Um,
Some Spanish dish where there is
yes.
tomato sauce and eggs cracked in the top. That
Oh, I've seen that. What's
hmm.
I watched somebody make it the other day. It was panzanella, and they took their old like 2 or 3 day old bread and
Hmm.
chopped it up into cubes, and it goes into the tomato solution, and then you crack your eggs on top, and you put the top on it and let the eggs cook, and
Oh.
then serve it. So each person gets an egg. The bread is in the tomato sauce, and you serve it in a nice bowl. But yeah, that was good.
And Kennedy says a frittata is just quiche without a crust. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I can do that one. That's easy.
Yeah. And then Sierra's got some boneless beef chuck roast and can only think of stew and Mississippi pot roast. Well, you know, with that boneless beef, you could do, chop it up. You can make a beef, first of all, beef vegetable soup.
Mm-hmm.
You can make beef and gravy, put it over noodles, put it over rice.
Mm-hmm. Actually do a beef pot pie.
Yes, beef pot pie, definitely. Beef pot pie, those kinds of things. So you can do all those kind of dishes to kind of stretch and extend things with as well. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, or let's see, beef pot pie, a beef vegetable soup. Oh, geez, the list goes on.
Mm-hmm.
I see Jean's talking about Jean W. You see
Let me
her?
find her. Haven't found her yet.
Okay. Okay, stir fry with the leftover vegetables and rice. You're right, Florence. And that makes up such a good stir fry.
Okay, Jean W.
Mm-hmm.
Blueberry
Blueberry
pancakes.
pancakes. Okay, she must be a little further down.
Tacos.
Oh, tacos. Uh-huh. She's got a
Quiche.
quiche. Oh, she's coming up with some good ones.
Baked
Oh, yeah, baked
apples.
apples. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
Carol says, what about a ham pot pie? Add peas and corn. Apples are good with peanut butter or fruit dip. Okay.
That's true.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Ham, potato, and egg tacos. So see, we can get to the next payday. We just have to get creative with how we do it. That's all.
That's
and
it.
And then Terry mentioned the chili mac. Remember I said my dad?
Yes, yes. Now, if you look up from that, 2 up, you'll see that Jean's talking about the split pea soup with the ham. If she likes split pea.
That's a classic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's very filling.
So Phoebe makes those hand pies. She's using a roll out the dough with the pizza cutter. And she makes her own. She makes her own noodles too.
All right.
Okay. All right. All right.
I like that. Now, Shelley, I'm trying to see what Shelley's a shakushka. What is that?
I don't know what that is.
Shelley, we're going to need some help. I don't know what that is. You'll have to tell us what it is. Yep, carbonara.
We
you can use the ham instead of the bacon.
So, okay. So it looks like we've got some pretty good ideas, though, on how we can make it to our next payday. And I think if nothing else, what this has taught us to do is just try to look at what's in our fridge from a different perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just look at it in a different light. And then we can make it to payday. So let me just see. So now let me just let you guys know that coming up, starting May 1st, we're going to be doing a budget challenge. You'll hear more about it later. But just be prepared to join us, and we'll just see how we can stretch it and save it, how we can use what's in our fridge, our freezers, and our pantry for the month of May and try to save a little money. So you can leave us your last minute meal ideas in the comments or in the chats. And Leona, you got anything else for the folks?
Well, I'm peeking here, and we've got a couple of people who are into making their pasta, and some of the things that we've mentioned too. We could actually make a pizza. And if you keep pizza crust in your freezer, that's something to think about too. I know we used to always have it when the kids were little, but even now I try to have a couple of pizza crust in there that I can take some of the leftovers and combine some of the meats, especially the day before you go to the grocery. That's when you
Hmm.
really want to get everything out of your refrigerator. And it's a great way to be able to use up the last without feeling like you have to throw things away. But you
Yes.
know, Miss Denise, I was watching you the other day where you had taken you had your little containers that you were using, and you had put your leftover tomato sauce in the little cubes,
Oh
or
yeah. Hmm.
in the ice cubes. And that's a great way. I'm thinking I probably need to do that with this. I do have some. And in order to save it and to be able to just pop it into dishes as we go.
Hmm.
So, um, also think about the fact now, yours are really nice. Mine are not nearly as nice as the ones that you have because I don't have a top for it.
Hmm.
So I have to use the plastic wrap. But, our egg containers are certainly good ways to be able to save products that we have where we have just a little bit of it.
Hmm.
And, you know, the whole thing is not to put it in the trash. That's
Yes.
the thing.
So let's see. So Tiffany says that she has to be creative and substitute. And that's the whole reason why we wanted to do this show tonight, was to help our homemakers and home cooks begin to look at their pantries differently, because
Mhm,
with the way prices are going, we have to be able to figure it out. And we've got to get from one payday to the next payday. We can't be going in between, because then we're going to use up more money, more of our budget. So if we get creative and then learn to substitute and look at things differently, like I'm going to think more about some of those egg dishes. Those aren't things I
mhm,
typically, they
mhm,
wouldn't be my go-to meals, but I'm
mhm.
going to certainly put them on the list to think about what I could do with those. And then Tiffany, also that you don't have to do the dish exactly like the recipe says. Yes.
Exactly.
The,
Exactly. And keep in mind that a recipe is just an idea.
mm-hmm.
It gives you an outline. And do you have to follow it to the letter? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Make it
Nope.
your own. Hmm.
All right. So Tiffany's saying she has to remember, you don't have to do it like it says. And Leona just said
Hmm.
that. And then Florence, beans of any kind, like northern beans, yes.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
here's the shashushka. Wait a minute.
Oh, it's a dish someone suggests, a highly seasoned tomatoes, onions, and pepper sauce with eggs cracked on top, poached in the sauce. Oh,
Oh,
I've
okay.
never heard of that,
I've
but
not heard of that either.
but it looks great. It sounds like it would be delicious.
Hmm.
Huh.
And that's the one thing that I have really enjoyed about us hosting these shows, is
Mhm,
we've learned about some new dishes, because we have ladies and gents from all over, from and
mhm,
various ethnic backgrounds. So the foods
mhm,
you bring to the table are different compared to what others may see as
mhm,
what's typical in their families. So
mhm.
I like the idea of that, a
I
shashuska.
do.
I might have to try
I
that,
should
because I like tomato
absolutely.
dishes. Hmm.
Oh,
Okay.
and poach it on top. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, Italian wedding soup.
Oh, it's delicious. It's delicious.
Okay.
And you make these little meatballs. Oh, they're so good. Oh, leftover meatloaf. Oh,
Oh,
with
rolled up in
tomato.
cabbage. I've heard of
Well,
that.
here we go. I
Mm-hmm.
got the
There you
tomato
go.
sauce, got the cabbage, and I think I've got some meatloaf in the freezer. That's a good idea. Thank you, Madeline.
And reducing the amount of meat in the recipe, substituting with rice, potatoes, lentils,
Hmm.
more veggies, less meat on your plate. Absolutely.
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 Hmm.
And
Let's see.
so Hola
Ola's back.
says,
Yeah. She cooks a lot of Hispanic food.
okay.
Ah.
Like
Now,
it.
I'm curious if do you find, Ola, that the Hispanic food markets or the ethnic food markets are more reasonable than the the larger stores like Kroger or whatever. Uh-huh. Italian. Oh, wow. So you had an international kitchen with,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's delicious.
Okay. Well, I think we've gotten some great ideas about how we can stretch our budget. We've
Mhm,
certainly been given some creative ideas and suggestions from the ladies and gents that jumped on here with us. I appreciate that. So I'm
mhm.
certainly going to try some new things, and I don't know. I'm going to try one of those new tomato sauce kind of dishes that I heard them talk
Mhm.
about. That shashuska, or there was a
Uh-huh.
Hispanic dish that was similar to that that you
Yes.
crack the egg on top. I'm
Mhm.
going to try one of those egg dishes. Leona, what do you think you might like to try?
Well, I'm definitely going to do the panzanella. And
Okay.
because as it would happen, I have some homemade bread and I'm going to use that and just kind of let it dry out. Then I can cube it and have it ready to go for the dish. So I have to share that one. That's going to be a good
Okay.
one. Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. If you're on the replay, please join in the fun by putting some comments in as you go through and leaving us some ideas about what you might be able to do a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole purpose of tonight was for us to think about how to stretch that budget, stretch what's in that pantry, how to make it to payday. So I think we've gotten some pretty good ideas, and certainly to be creative and think outside the box with what we find in there.
I
So we will
agree.
see you guys next week. We'll be on Miss Leona's channel, and she'll have something good for you to for us to dig into. And so we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.